The first person to understand the reality, I'm not going to say concept, because this is not a concept. This is a reality. The first person to understand the reality of time travel was God, Amen. Now, when I say God, Amen, I put it in the perspective or in the reality that Amen was a man, physical man who came to a planet, a physical planet that has a solar system. Anything existing within this realm has a form, right? Now, time travel, when people in the religious world, they'll say, God is omnipresent, meaning omnipresent, always present, right? If God is always present, then that means he's present in all times, in all time zones, what you would call past, present, and future. Time zones are broken up into dimensions. All dimensions are time frames. They house time. This planet was encased in time frames. They were beamed here by solar energy, by solar light. Just like the thoughts, the ideas, the things that were grown here, it was all sent here, projected here by solar intelligence, by solar energy. The sunlight was used to beam these things that you see, these elements on Earth. They were used to beam here from another place. They were projected. Same way you project use a projector to project light and images onto a picture screen, is the same way that these elements were projected here on Earth. Right? Same way. Same way a time frame was placed in the Earth. Same way dimensions, meaning time frames, were placed here to house time. Right? Time is dictated by how it moves, by how the planet moves around the sun. Right? And based on how fast light travels, or how fast you travel past light, past the sunlight that comes to this planet, it dictates how fast time travels, or how fast you travel in time or past it. And breaking the time limit, or breaking the time intervals or the time frames, is how you start to go past time, backwards and forwards. People didn't understand. They said, well, brother, he said once time elapses, time goes someplace. Time goes nowhere. Right? Time goes nowhere. I gave the analogy of an album, right? You put the needle on the album. Let's say that you are the needle and you're standing on the album, which represents the planet, and the planet is turning, right? And you go from the beginning of the record all the way to the end of the record. So that means what? That means that, once you get to the end of the record, did the record itself physically disappear at the beginning of the record? No. You can pick the needle up and put it right back in the beginning. I give simple analogies like this to explain time travel. Time goes nowhere. Time always exists because the dimensions exist. The dimensions go nowhere. They need to be encased in order to hold the time frames of this planet together, or else there would be chaos. There would be disorder. Everything would be out of time. Right? This is the whole purpose of that. And, of course, a supreme being or supreme group would know how to travel through those time frames, through those barriers, through those boundaries, through those dimensions to get to different time frames. We're going to discuss that tonight. I am the intellectual Nuben Menkarayzz, and this is State of Mental Radio, and tonight we're discussing Amen, right? The supreme God Amen, the first real time traveler, the first time traveler, right? Because as the person who created time, the people that created time, the people that created the rotation around the sun, because this is not spookism. I don't deal with spookism. I don't like mystery. I don't like allegorical things. I don't like analogies. I don't like so-called spiritual talk. We're dealing with real talk. We're dealing with things that are experimental. I don't like to use the word scientific. Right? I like the word experimental because this is experienced mental perception and experienced mental projection. Now, true, I used it in a different terminology, but experimental means experienced mental projection, right? Experimental or experienced mind projection. Because when you allow yourself to experiment or allow your mind to go beyond its boundaries of how you, or your limitations on what you thought, that in itself is an experiment. Right? That's a mental experiment. Just as when I made the mention of a person who has, say, a person who has what's the word I'm looking for? Telepathy or a psychic. I'm sorry to say. That's what I meant to say. A psychic. A person who has psychic abilities. A person who can see into the future. I said that the ability for somebody to see into the future is the first stage of time travel. Because if you allow your mind to jump or you allow your mind to travel toward or beyond different time frames in which you are in, you are in the present state, and you're seeing future pictures or having future visions, your mind just time traveled. Your mind traveled into a time where future events are occurring, and you're seeing it. Just as, you're getting pictures or images in your mind. It's being generated, right? These images are being generated into your mind. People say, well, brother, how do you say the future don't exist yet, and we're going into the future? I said, yeah, the future does exist. The future does exist because how can you have visions of the future if the future doesn't exist? That don't make sense. If you can actually visualize and see the future, you have people all over the planet who, your religions are based on prophets and people who and seers and people who see the future. So if they're able to see the future and these people are okay to give credence to prophets or people who were prophesizing about the future, then obviously the future was already laid out. It's already existing, right? Now, what you can do in the future during the course of your life, that's always up for change. That's always set for change. But there's still an ultimate plan or goal to be planned out. There's still always an ultimate goal. The only thing you will do in future time is pass on, right? So it is possible to alter the future, certain things in your life, even though in the grand design of things it's already laid out the way it is, right? All the things in the time frames are laid out. All the images are generated. Everyone here was already generated here, right? So there is some credence to what people say when they say there's nothing new under the sun. That is somewhat true. But things come from beyond the sun, right, into this time frame to alter the evolution of the planet, bring in new things, new technology, new ideas, things that didn't exist prior to this. However, it was all sent in as new things to alter time. Buildings going up, buildings coming down, all to alter time, right? People coming onto the planet, people dying off of the planet, all to alter time, right? All to alter time. So, obviously, when these different people saw or they talked about beings coming from the sky, because we always say that God, Amen, is the first extraterrestrial. He's the only real extraterrestrial, right? One or sent a race of extraterrestrials here who are now known as the black race, a different species of being. We say that he came here in physical form, or sent beings here in physical form, and they were his eyes, his physical eyes here, that he saw through these people by way of remote viewing, seeing through these people, right? This is how they say, how was God able to be in different places? Through people, in different time frames, through men, in different time frames. His genetics are in men. When I use the term Amen, right, which always stayed in the mouths of everyone from the beginning to the end, which doesn't really belong to any language, right? Nobody really sure. They say the word Amen belongs into the Hebrew language. They say all these things, but it can be found further back in broken up bits and pieces in the word en and the word men. All of it is found in broken bits and pieces and have been being put together as man's intelligence increases and he has a greater understanding of the word and what God actually is. Someone who came here, right, and set a system in motion, a time system, right? A timing system for growth, for change, and for evolution. So, of course, he can manipulate these time frames. Of course, he can come in and out as he chooses because he is outside of time. The so-called scientists, they said something really silly. They say that time travel, you travel out of time, right? You have to travel in space in order to time travel, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. See, this is what happens when you allow these people, when black people, or just people in general, allow these people to say things and you don't think about them. Now, you'll have black people and people in general, but especially black people, they will repeat these things that a scientist said because these people have PhDs and things within or on attached to their names as some sort of credential or as some sort of to come off as some sort of authority on things like dimensions and time travel, right? Now, it is impossible, to travel outside, time because time exists within dimensions. There's no time and space, right? There is no space-time. There's no such thing as space-time. All time is defined or understood by light and the rotation of a planet around a light source or a solar system. A solar system is interlocking, all right? You have 9 planets, they say, in this solar system, right? And I said that whenever you go to any planet, the time is going to be different, but they're still going to be based on time because it's all of them are moving in a rotation around the sun. They are all interlocked into a solar system, right? Outside the solar system, there is no time, right? Until you get to another world or another solar system or galaxy, a system that these almond beings set up, then they manipulate time because the whole point of time is, again, growth, life, death. A system is put in place, a cycle of life. All of these things have to be put in place, right, to keep an order, right? So if they are able to manipulate the order, if they are able to go backwards and forwards, right, travel in time, like with your, some of your societies try to do, your ancient societies, right? Some of them tried to travel. Some of them were given the knowledge on time travel by these almond beings, something that they weren't supposed to get. Certain people shared bits and pieces of intelligence on time travel, even to the earlier people. You understand? You had the East Indians, the Sumerians. A lot of these people had fragments of intelligence on time travel. Even the Nazi in Germany under Hitler, they had found evidence of something called the Nazi bell. I believe it's called the bell. Right? It's this thing. I think They did this on the Ancient Aliens thing. They showed with this bell, right? This Nazi bell that Germans sent out into space, right? Came back, and what really happened? It went out and they sent it out into space, right? And space or the solar system sent it back, and it crashed in Pennsylvania. I believe this was in the 60s. I want to say in the 60s or the 70s, somewhere in the 60s or 70s. The Nazi bell. Look it up. What happens is when you try to send things outside this system, or it gets to a certain point where you're trying to go beyond time or go outside this system, right? Outside this solar system. The solar system has a gate or a guard up to keep things from coming out of the system, just as certain things are kept from coming into the system, right? You have black holes in the planet that were really put there to swallow things to stop meteorites and comets from coming to the planet. Now, you do have sometimes where you have certain meteorites and comets that come to the planet in a time frame for a reason. Some of it is broken off or sent here to bring messages, right? Some of them are decoded messages, sometimes these comets and things come in to alter time. Certain things that are taking place in a time zone, right? These times are zoned out purposely, right? Because if you manipulate these things, you throw off the evolution of the planet. So, like I said, they could not, or these advanced beings, like I said, we use the word God for all essential, for all purpose. We use it because this is what the religious people who still caught up in religion still do. But we say supreme beings or these extraterrestrials or whatnot. We say God because that's all God is. You understand? But the people in religion, they're not ready to accept that. They still into the mystery thing of it all. They don't want to accept that God, or who you're calling God, and that these people that walked with God were highly intelligent beings that were walking around doing the same things we were doing. Just as these people here on Earth are experimenting and doing scientific studies and trying to time travel and go into, we are thousands and thousands and thousands more than that behind them, the people who have already done it. You understand? So above, so below. It's the same thing. Everything in time, everything that everything we're trying to do in going beyond time in this frame has already been done. We're already there. Certain people have already made it. Certain people have already made it past time frames, right? Mentally, first and foremost. You have to be able to imagine it. In other words, you have to be able to generate that image, or your mind has to be at a certain level to even generate that image to receive that picture. You can't explain time travel to someone whose mind is not open to receiving, whose mind only vibrates on a certain level, whose mind's only open to certain levels of intelligence, right? Certain levels of data, whatever you want to refer to it as, to go in. Their mind is not open to receive that. So as the mind is closed, as they shut their mind off to receive it, you can't explain this to people. That's why, I noticed that a lot of people, you'll get the people that are evolving to that state where, like I said, they never connected things like telepathy and all of these higher senses that we have as a part of time travel, right? Why is it a part of time travel? Because these are things we are coming into in time, right? In the future tense. These are all futuristic or future capabilities that we're developing over time. This is part of our evolution, our mental and physical evolution, right? Of course, we're going to learn how to travel time, right? Few of our people have already done it, right? Few of our people have already altered certain things in time. Why do I say that? Because let's say you have a premonition, right? You have a premonition not to do nothing, to do something, or not to do something, or talk to someone, or do something to prevent something, right? Now, if you take heed to that premonition, that future premonition that you received, right, and then that situation comes up, and you don't take a certain road, or you don't do a certain thing, or you stop somebody from doing that, you just altered time. You just altered time. You just altered the situation in time, right? Because you saw it ahead of time. So that in itself is time travel. You travel there mentally. I said the first stage of traveling someplace physically is to travel there mentally, right? Your mind works, and I said this, that your thoughts that you receive are beamed in, like by solar energy. Our people's thoughts are beamed in like solar energy. You receive. A lot of our people are not on that level of receiving it, but a lot of our people are receiving, who are raising their intelligence to a higher level. A lot of our people are receiving higher intelligence, via the sunlight from these almond beings. The whole point of them putting the sun into the air, or putting the sun into a system and a rotation around the planets, is to grow things, right? Part of what they're growing is you. You're evolving so that there's a state of growing, and part of a state of growing is developing your intelligence. And part of developing your intelligence is getting you to accept or open your mind to the possibility or the reality of time travel, the reality of psychometry, telepathy, and all of these other things that you, like certain people, are not going to see. These are all things that are developing over time. So, of course, these beings done traveled through the time. They are ahead of us. They are our children. These are not any spooks and spirits and things like that. When I talk about the god Amen, when I talk about the Amen beings and all that, those are actually our children. Right? Your children are going to be more advanced than you. Right? So if your children are the advanced ones, your children are the Amen beings. They are the ones, because as the intellectual ⴛɪᴍᴇ came and started teaching about the Amen beings and that they are actually a physical race of people, not some Egyptian gods and all this nonsense and statues, that these are actually a physical race of people that time traveled, that were highly intelligent, who looked like black men and black women, who came here in the image of black men and black women who were solar beings. As I started teaching this, then as this message spreads, the reality of it becomes real. It becomes realer in the minds of you who are listening and accepting it and going based on the logic of it. Teaching your children this based on logic, on your own independent intelligence, and they start to develop into that. They start to move toward that, right? Because a lot of our people, in a time, they'll sit here and they'll say, oh, I haven't heard that before. Or I heard bits and pieces. I haven't heard it at all. They've been basically going off of theories, right? Theories from mankind. Things that are not based in logic. Everything we present here in time travel is based in logic. The seeing of things in the future. Developing your, what they call sixth sense, which is more than six senses. This is the ability to break into different dimensions. I said a lot of our people are going to interdimensionally travel, where they're going to be able to appear in different dimensions and time frames, right? This all develops over time. You can see when they talk about the whole thing, and I'm pretty sure people have seen apparitions and what they call, where they talk about ghosts and all this other stuff. When you see different apparitions and what you call ghosts or whatever, or spirits, whatever you call it, light beings or whatever, from different time frames and whatnot, that is a person that's traveling interdimensionally, because they're able to walk into your time frame from their time frame that they came from. Say like 100 and something years ago, 200 years ago, they're able to walk into your time frame and you can see them. So already that's a form of time travel, but they were not able to do it in physical form. They were only able to do it in light form, right? Because when a person passes away on this realm or in any realm, they go into a light form. Because I said mankind has partial or artificial soul here on the planet, and they're able to time travel. However, they're caught in this realm. They're caught in lower dimensions, which is what you call ghosts, but that's a form of time travel. All right? Our people are supposed to be traveling on higher levels of this, on higher dimensions, right? Actually being able to travel in physical form, in this physical form right here, not in light, not just in light form, but in physical form as well. You got, as I said, you got people working on this right now. You got people, the government, all these people are working on time travel, right? They throwing a lot of different theories up against the wall. However, what they're doing is by placing the satellites in the air to pull in intelligence on how to time travel. That's what they stay doing 24 hours a day. Those satellites stay on because they're trying to receive intelligence on how to do that, how to change certain things, how to alter different periods. You understand? To change certain things to benefit their outcome, to keep these people in control, to keep these people in power. This is a reality. Why else would someone want to alter time, right? That's just the beginning. If time can be altered, if people can try to change things, which, like I said, even if you're going in and you're causing a disruption in time, it's not really a disruption, right? Because everything is going to lay out the way it's supposed to. People will sit up here and they'll say, oh, if I could go back in time, I would have stopped slavery. You can't stop slavery. Slavery was meant to happen the way it happened. Or if I was to come back, I would stop Malcolm X from dying. No, you can't stop that in time. Malcolm X was supposed to die that way. No matter how many times you change it, Malcolm X was supposed to die on that day. For all you people that love Malcolm X, he was supposed to die on that day. Everything the way it's laid out is supposed to happen the way it's supposed to happen. They laid it out that way based on the priority of the people and what they need to utilize these people for and what they didn't need to utilize them for later. All right? Usually don't do this, but I'm going to take a call early on in the broadcast. 510, you on the air.
Hey, brother.
Hey, brother, how you doing?
Good, good. Hey, I was gonna wait to press one, but man, you touched on a question that I had for you this evening, and that was about when people see or claim to see. I've never experienced it, but claim to see ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I always I never said it was a lie, but I always had a question about it because it's like, how could something from let's just use these terms, the spiritual realm exist within the physical within a physical existence? That's just like saying that that a physical existence can exist in the spiritual realm. You know, I always had questions about that, but you said that it does happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the way you broke it down, it's like mathematically possible. You feel me?
Yeah, everything I'm gonna say is gonna be fine. I don't never logically explain something because everything has an answer. See, these people will sit up here and say, oh, well, these things don't have an answer. You're not supposed to know that. No, what they're really saying, they don't know. So they're gonna tell you that you don't know. You can't logically figure this out if you open your mind up to figure it out and receive it. A lot of our people are not open to, their mind is not open on this level. To them it sounds spooky, it sounds crazy, only based on their own ignorance because they don't understand it. So because they don't want to seem stupid or they don't want to seem ignorant about something, they'll say, oh, it's crazy or it's spooky. But we can logically sit here and explain it and it'll be over their head. And they just can't say I don't understand, or they can't, their mind doesn't go there because everybody's not meant to evolve into that way it's on a higher level of thinking. Everybody's not meant to be like that, Yeah. But it's basically, like I said, this is common logic. To those of our people who are in a state of evolution mentally, this is common logic.
Yeah, it's becoming more clear, It's becoming more clear. And I'm just like you said previously that some people say they've heard bits and pieces of this, or have heard or haven't heard it at all. You know, I've heard bits and pieces of this information, but you're presenting it in a more logical manner. Just like you said that the Amen beings are our children. That's in an old mythology that the beings that brought us here are our children. I've heard that, and that's just one example of many, bruh. And I'm telling you, this science, or this intellect that you bring in, it's the all the other stuff like the ancient science and even Egypt and all, the Dogon tribe, all the ancient sciences. This is what you're bringing is the logical manifestation of all that science. That's what it is. And it's more clear when it's given in a logical manner. You feel me?
Well, it would have to be like that, because not only am I going to give a logical conclusion to all of those old teachings, but now what's going to happen is there's going to be a you have to give a logical conclusion to all the mysteries in order to move on to higher intelligence, in order to start receiving. Because when we doing the state of mental class, the super mental projection, we pull in more things beyond that. So you have to, because when these people was trying to explain things, they were trying to explain things based on their own level of understanding. So they couldn't explain it maybe as clearly. There was a loss in translation from them to here, but they always kept, like I said, Amun's name somewhere in men. They always kept it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And it doesn't even make sense. Think about this for a second. Why would you give put a people or create a people or bring a people here that is less advanced than you? You would bring a people here that were less advanced so that these people can grow into you.
Exactly.
They're going to grow into you. That's the whole point. Everything on this planet is based on growth and time and evolution. This is something our people forget.
You killed it. You killed it when you said that the Amun beings. Damn, what did you say? Oh man, I lost it. But you said that we were here to we're here to grow. They put us here so we could grow. You know what I'm saying? Just like plants and shit grow.
Yeah.
We're supposed to do the same thing, man.
Yeah.
That shit is dope. That shit is dope, man.
Yeah.
That's too logical. That's too logical for anybody to say anything against it, bruh.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have Negroes that do because they didn't say it, or white people, they'll say the white man, he'll say it because he didn't say it. Or like I said, his parrot Negroes, they'll have a problem with it because it didn't come from the white man. It came from somebody that looked like them, so they can't accept that. That made too much sense. I got that already. I got a lot of that already, bro.
Mm-hmm.
We are supposed to be growing, just like everything is growing here, like plants and trees and things are growing here. We're supposed to be growing here as well. We are supposed to be. We're supposed to be. I said when the Amun beings came here, and we came as part of a manifestation in time. And we came into time, right? From outside of time, we came into time through their genetics, and we got planted here in time, right? And our time was 120, right? Where they said 120 years. Now 120 years equals 1 and 3, which is 3. 1 and 2, which is 3, which represents the third dimension on which this planet is locked into a time frame to. Now the circle of the 120 represents the rotation or the cycle of life in which the Amun beings who were on Earth were supposed to be living in that time frame. That was a full life for us. That's why 120 is not only mathematical, right? It's also dealing with a life cycle, because a life cycle is based on mathematics as well. So 1 and 2 being 3, and that circle, that 0, being in a complete rotational cycle of life, was supposed to transfer us out of here to receive light from that boundless world, and to come back into this world and to receive another 120 or whatever the case may be to live out a full life. But we're not getting that now because of our mixing with the beast, even though mankind, we're supposed to live up to about 60 because their number is 6, and that was a full life for them. That's all based in time.
And speaking of the number 6, in Revelation, when it speak of the 666, is that not 6 neutrons, 6 protons, 6 electrons?
Yeah.
Is that
it could break down to that because, like I said, it's incomplete. Actually, the 6 is incomplete. The 6 is incomplete. The 6 resonates as an artificial or a partial piece of our genetic, because our whole genetic is supposed to be 12. You know what I mean? Our whole genetic is supposed to be 12, as in 120. I mean, that's the whole lifespan of us. Because what are we? Are we not in the 3-dimensional world? Are we not the third planet away from the sun? So this all this is, like I said, this is all based in mathematical time zones, right? But now we're jumping into another time zone. We're jumping into a 4th dimension very soon. That's why the planet is being altered right now. We're going through an alteration in time.
Yeah, man.
So
I'm gonna let you go. You say this, I'm gonna let you go. I really started noticing a change, especially when my thoughts. Because I could, how you could think something, when I was younger, I could think things and they'll happen. But now, when I think them, they happening faster. I gotta watch what I say. I can't, like, if I tell a lie, I that shit happens. Like I called off sick at work. I wasn't sick. The next couple of days I was sick as a dog. Things like that. The shit is just happening faster. And I really noticed a change going on here, man. And man, I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. I'm gonna listen.
All right.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, bro.
No problem, brother.
And send me my email too, bro, so I can get my 21 questions.
Okay. Well, your name again, brother? What's your name?
Reginald Hunt.
Reginald Hunt. Okay, yeah, because I got the podcast thing set up on Facebook, so I'll send it out to you right now. I sent you an invitation to the to the State of Mental e-store and podcast. All right, I'm still sending it out. I just set it up.
Okay.
I just set it up, so I'll send it out to you. Definitely got it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for calling in, brother. All right.
Okay, peace.
Peace. Some of our people are speeding up. Some of our people are mentally speeding up. Some of our people are traveling through time mentally. Some of you are traveling to a place where you are receiving higher intelligence. Right? Some of you are getting there faster than, light, faster than certain people are traveling and receiving intelligence, because all intelligence travels on light. Right? Some of you might, if all intelligence is traveling on light, right? Because you can actually, thoughts carry energy, right? And where's that energy coming from? Light. Does not light carry energy? So that light that's being shined on the planet is what's carrying your thoughts, right? That's what's carrying your thoughts. That's what you are able to send your thoughts on. Some of you who are in tune, right? Because, like I said, they carry a lot of the your radio waves and things like that. So they'll carry your radio waves. That's why some of you might experience this. Like, if you'll be thinking about a show that's coming on, right? You'll be thinking about these things and whatnot, and they'll just pop into your head, and the next thing the show's coming on, because in this time frame, you're sharing the same reception as that solar waves, those waves that are riding on that they're using to ride their radio waves on, their Wi-Fi, everything, the television waves and things like that is riding on the same waves as your telepathy and your psychometry and all these things that are helping you to alter time, right? Certain people are not going to develop these things. Certain people are not going to come to this evolution because they're only set in a certain time frame. Certain people who have the genetics of the almond beings, though some of them were mixed down, and a lot of our people have too much of the genetic of other people, of the human, in it, where it blocks them off from traveling mentally through other times and receiving higher capabilities. They won't pick it up. So to them, this conversation won't resonate to them, won't register to them. It'll sound crazy to them, the conversation we having. But those of our people who are in tune, we know what we're talking about. We already, like I said, certain people, you don't have to explain this to them. They already getting it. It's already logically linking up with them. That means that you have been chosen beyond time, right? How is it? I said one of the first stages of time travel is telepathy, right? Telepathy, sending messages, sending messages through time. How is that possible? You might receive a message, right, in real time or you are actually receiving messages in real time. Your thoughts, right, are traveling through time. Like you'll receive it, like a lot of people say in the church, I'm receiving a message from God. I'm receiving a message, the Lord, I got this message from the God or the Lord, and something told me, don't go down this way, or don't go down that way, or don't go down this way. Some of you will say it's your ancestors or whatever the case may be. Right? Or some of us will say it's the ascension, your children in the future who are sending these messages through time to help you, right? Because they're that advanced. The things that seem like it's impossible because we're saying it now and because technology hasn't produced it, they're actually sending messages through time. Same way you talk on the phone, because there was a time where people would think you can talk into a phone and have a communication with a person on a telephone. It's the same way you'll be able to telepathically send messages through time. Same way the Amen beings do. They're sending messages through time. Your descendants. This is nothing spooky. Your children, your great-grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren, they're sending messages through time. They are the gods. They are the gods, not the ancestors. They are the gods. Your children put you here in time in order to develop into what they become. They planted themselves, their genetic, here in time, right, in this space to cause an evolution. They also planted themselves in different time zones, in other planets, in other solar systems, to affect the evolution of the planets. That was the whole purpose of this. They're growing people just like they're growing seasons and times. Everything is being grown, and they're still in a state of growing things. It's just that our people are not receiving the messages or the intelligence to grow. They're not receiving. That's why I say intelligence. I said not information. Intelligence in the word tell, meaning to communicate. Our people are not receiving the communication or the mental order to grow through time. But now the reception is starting to pick back up again. And as our reception is picking up, you're going to have people in this time trying to slow it down. Right? They're going to have people trying to slow it down, because when you start to develop mentally, you start to alter time. Things start to come in. You have the ability to bring things in, bring in technology, bring in higher thoughts that'll alter the time frames you're in, the present state. Like, for example, let's say when the 19th century came in, right? The 19th century was altered by what? Technology, by televisions, radios, things like that. That actually changed and altered time by those evolutions that were brought in. Though it was laid out in the timeline, they had to be telepathically brought in or sent in to those men to receive it in order to bring it out in physical form. That's an altering in time. Now we at the, like I said, now we at the beginning of the new millennium, or 12 years in, and we're supposed to be bringing in things and receiving things mentally or telepathically from our ascendants to bring into this time to alter it. Right? That's what we're supposed to be doing right now, but we're not. Notice as the year 2000 came in, a concentration was placed on dumbing down the people who are supposed to be receiving, right? Distracting them, right? Using people who are slower to distract you as well, people who are in tune, because now you get to alter time. I said the most powerful tool you have is your mind, right? Why? Because your mind can alter time. By how? By bringing in certain technologies and things like that, bringing in certain ideas and thoughts that can help you to alter your situation, that can help you ultimately help alter your people's situation, right? So if you're not able to receive things to alter your situation, like, for example, I'm going to give you another example. People are saying, I'm just saying this for argument's sake. Let's say you outnumbered by a group of people, right? And these people got all these weapons and stuff like this, right? Giving an analogy now. Let's say these people are all, they got you seem like locked down. They got all these high-powered weapons and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, you receive, you're like, damn, I wish my people could, free, and we got, free, and we wasn't locked down up under this mindset. Then you receive a weapon. One thing could be something so small. You receive a weapon that could counter all of their weapons and put them down for good, so that now you take charge and your people take control. Sounds crazy? How do you think the white man came with the gun? Right? The gun changed everything for him. Once he put the gun in his hand, it changed everything. Changed the world. Made him take over things much faster. The gun changed everything, which he took from the Asians, but the Asians got the idea from playing with gunpowder. And these people got the idea because all this was laid out and meant to happen. These people were meant to take charge of the world to live out the Amen beings, what the Amen beings actually wanted on the earth. Something that we got sidetracked by mixing our seed with the humans in this time or in the past times to do. We had got sidetracked. So the evolution had to take place on this planet. Real time zones had to be altered. Technologies had to come in to bring that about. Things had to be introduced purposely. See, we don't look at the bigger picture with that. That's why I said your mind is the most powerful weapon, more powerful than any gun, because you can outthink a person who has a gun. You can outthink anybody. You can be the mind that brings in something else beyond that, something to protect yourself and counteract anything. Had not someone like, I keep saying Harriet Tubman, had someone like her not received the thought to start the evolution of freeing the people out of a physical bondage, you understand, and being successful with that and being guided by that, she was sent in. People probably would have been suffering a lot longer than they did, or still been in a state of bondage. So she was that weapon, or her mind was that weapon, and she was that physical weapon against the oppression of the people. People are sent in based on, or things or technology is sent in based on the needs of the people and the need to evolve this place in a time frame. Because everything is based on time here. Everything is time. Like the people say everything is based on mathematics. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Everything here in this system is based on mathematics. Things are given an image, but everything is based in the number 3. Right? The first 3 dimensions. 4, 5, 6. That's the next stage. 4, 5, 6. We're coming into the 4th dimension right now, and time is being altered. And this is not concept of theory. No, we don't deal with concept and theory. As the brother said, we deal only with logic here. All right? Because the same thing, the things that we sitting around here worrying about, right, that are caught in past and present, won't matter in the future. Won't matter in the coming future. Meaning that time is always going to be altered by a higher knowledge, by a higher intelligence. Always. That's why I always post, and if you see me constantly posting on Facebook about, I post as a way to send out like a mental radar to my people to tell you to get out of religion, get out of metaphysics, get out of Pan-Africanism, get out of all these things that cause limitations, because they're all locked in time. They're all locked in past time frames. So what happens to a people whose minds are locked in past and present? What happens to a people who connect themselves to the concepts of white people and other types of people, whether it's calling yourself an African, a Moor, a 5%, or whatever, or black man, it don't matter. These terminologies are all locked in time. Because there was a time when they didn't exist. It was a time when nobody wasn't calling themselves Moors or Masons or 5% or Christian and all that. So when you lock yourself in a doctrine, when you lock yourself in that, you lock yourself in a time. And you will not move into the future. You lock your genetic, you lock your brain into a time, and especially by teaching your children that. Because I said it was a time. Before those, you had religions that are far gone, that nobody knows the name of, that existed way before Christianity, Islam, and all of them. Now nobody don't even know what they are. They don't exist. I said it'll come again. All these preconceived notions, all these philosophies, all these cultural things, these things you call yourself that are locked in time, will cease to exist in time. And a new time will come where there'll be something else. There'll be something beyond that. And if you're not able to keep up, then you will be lost in time. You got people who die in a time zone and they're caught in a frame. And this is where you get your whole thing about your angry spirits and ghosts and things like that, because these are light form beings who are trapped here. They're trapped in a time, and they're mad because they can't leave, because they're trapped here mentally. Where you are, I said this on Facebook, I said where you are mentally is where you're going to stay, after you die. You're going to stay trapped in a time frame, in a time zone, whether you have a physical body or not. Because light and energy can live here, but you will be trapped in a form. You will be trapped between dimensions. You will be. You will be trapped in time. This is real. You got the people, like I said, who are trapped in the materialism and things like that. So let it go, because the whole point of it is you want to be an eternal being. You want to be one who travels beyond time. You want to be one who travels beyond time, one who is not trapped in time. You understand? This is what God is, or what you call in God. Our children, they're not going to be trapped in time if you or yourself are not trapped in it. Everything that we are receiving right now, everything, all this intelligence that we're receiving, because like I said, the state of mental came out of nowhere, or it appeared to come out of nowhere. It didn't come out of any of these things here. It comes out of nowhere. Like Dr. York said, and like I said, a mentor of mine, those people who harness intelligence are those people outside who are visiting, and those who are locked in time, residents who are staying here. They're not going anywhere. We will always be able to travel through time, are genetic, because we're not locked in time. Do you understand that? The people who are not locked in time, God is not locked in time. You understand? That's why I could say that these beings, and I know for a fact that they're called Amen, you know what I mean? As a race, not as some god, some wooden god, a metal god that was created in Egypt, no. Because you can find the name En and Men and all that going back further. It's not like the name of Allah, where you know it started with some Arabs in the Arabic language. It's not like the El Elo that came from the Babylonian, the El and all this that came from there, based on fragmented language that they put together to cause confusion. That's all locked in time frames. You understand that? That's all locked in time frames. God is not locked in a time frame. What do you know about God? That he is a mental being. That's why we say Amen, because he is a mental being. He is an omnipotent, omnipresent mental being. That's what Amen is, a continuous mental being. That's what men is short for. You sisters are mental beings. You brothers are mental beings. That's what's short for men and women. You are the only real men and women on earth, the so-called black men and black women, because you were grown here, you understand, from someplace else. You were beamed here from someplace else, from a continuous world that has no time. That's why they can't track you in time here. That's why your scientists don't really know how old the so-called black man and black woman is. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that. But then he turned around and said, you are original people, but he didn't understand the language. It's not that you're original people. You don't have any origin here. That's why they can't track you or know how old you are, because you're not born here. You don't come from here. You come from the genetics of God. And God obviously don't come from here, because he was from beyond here, before here. You understand? That's why another reason why I told my people, stop calling yourself Africans and Muslims and Moors and all this other nonsense. Don't call yourself that, because you're limiting yourself. You're trapping yourself off in time. And if you consider yourself to be a god, then you can't go under those limited titles, because they are based in time, because there was a time when they did not exist. That came from the preconceived notions of men and their confusion. That's why I told my people, and some of our people didn't get it. Those are the people who are trapped in time, who are not going to go to a state of evolution. They're not going to evolve beyond these things. They're going to die off here in time. They're going to be your angry beings that are trapped in time, that are not going anywhere. They angry right now. I'll show you what I mean. When we post these things up, and we post these broadcasts up, and we're talking about time travel and whatever I'm talking about, they get angry because they don't understand. That's really what I get a lot of anger from, because they don't get it. They don't, because they looking for the white man to say it, or they don't have any real natural intelligence, or they can't tune in. They're not in tuned. Those of our people who are following within the state of mental, we tuned in. Those people who are joining, we tuned in. So this conversation don't sound strange just because we're not locked in time. I said God, Amen, is a mentalist, is a continuous, eternal mentalist. You understand? Meaning that he is one, a mental being that sends communication and receives back and forward. That's all this is. thoughts that are penetrating time and changing time. You understand? Thoughts put the time frames on this planet, the dimensions, which are time frames, interlocking time frames. That's all this is. Black holes and things around in the solar system. You understand? Things within this solar system, dimensions and things like that. All planets have dimensions. You understand? Within one universe. It's not multiple universes. It's one universe, many different solar systems. You understand? Galaxies. Sections where your solar systems are. Right? All based in time. These beings, these Amen beings, travel time. That's all they do, send messages through time. That's all they do. They use the sun to do it. They put the sun there to grow things into your mind, to send things here, to advocate time, to eventually teach you or send the message to you about time travel, because it's going to come a time where our people are going to need it. You understand? It's going to come a time where our people are going to need to travel out of time and into another time zone. That's real. Our people are not going to get that, though. See, a lot of our people, they want to keep our people simple-minded, because this is the time where we're supposed to be receiving that, right now. This is the time where we're supposed to be receiving it. But, like I said, you see how everything is getting dumber and dumber? With the younger people, like I said, the focus is on them to keep them from receiving it. You understand? That's the whole focus. And then you got simple-minded Negroes out there who can't get their mind out of certain time frames. They can't get their minds out of Islam, out of Christianity, out of Judaism, and all that Pan-Africanism. It was a time before we was none of that. That's what we're supposed to be going back to in order to go forward, dumping out our load and moving on, so that we can receive this higher intelligence to move us forward in time, beyond time. You understand? So that we can put our children on that path of evolution in ourselves, that mental evolution. People asking, what were we before 1492? You need to be asking yourself, what were we before all of these titles? We are men and women. Our men and our women. Mental beings. This is what we are. This is what we're supposed to be headed to. Not of the human race, not of the artificial ones who came in a time. The humans are locked in a time zone. All right? And they can't escape from that. We'll be right back. You ever see how you look at the lightning, right, and how it comes into the atmosphere, right? And I said that, light, or what you call lightning, you see the word 10 in it, or N. Those are actually messages that sit on lightning as well, what they call lightning, right? The flashes of light, right? They say it's precipitation and clouds, all that stuff, whatever, right? They say that that's, but that represents power, electricity, right? And it comes in a zigzag formation. Remember when you turn your TV on, right? And their old TVs, they used to come on, and they would come on in a zigzag formation for all you older folks to remember. I remember that when the screen would come on in the zigzag formation before the picture comes up, right? That's how power moves through the atmosphere. That's how people traveled here in time, right? They traveled these dimensions in a zigzag formation, right? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? So they were going through these dimensions in order to resonate here in a form. When these messages are going out in through the different time zones for your television and things like that, right? They have to move in a zigzag formation before they find a point, right, in your antenna, in your television, right? Your television is like, or your radio is like a planet, right? Everything they did, how they set up the television and the radio, is based on the same way the earth is set up. You have reception coming from some place into here, and it is not clear what that reception is, right? It's going through a time zone. It's going through a time frame. It's going through dimensions and whatnot. And it comes through, and I'm talking about on the planet as far as, you know, you sending, like they have a place like a television studio where they send out, where they sending out radio waves on there. They riding their images on the radio waves and whatnot, and they beaming it out through the light and stuff like that, and it's hitting your antennas or your receptors, and it's picking up, and it's going through a zigzag formation into your television. Your television, think of your television and radio as a planet, because it has to hit a solid place or a solid post to host that picture, right? To bring an image up. Same way you receive intelligence, right? That's why I said it's intelligence. You receive, because those images or those thoughts travel in time to you, right, on the speed of light, and it has to hit inside of your head to form a picture. You understand? It has to hit inside of your head to form a picture. Without it going inside of your head, without it being pulled in by your brain and by the mental or the mind field around your brain called your mind, without it being pulled in, because that's the magnetic frequency that it pulls in real time, then you're not going to resonate a picture in your head, and you're not going to be able to pick up thoughts. That's how thought travel works in time. It has to go through a zigzag formation. It has to move through a formation. It has to move in a light formation, right? What they call lightning or power or electricity, right? Solar electricity, right? It has to move in that realm into the air and it has to go into a base, which is you, to receive thoughts. It's the same way. It all works in a time. Now, if you can think beyond that time, if you can move beyond that time, right? If you can actually move past that light, they say it's sun. They tried to measure sunlight as traveling. Was it 93 million miles per second takes to get to the sun? I forget how they said 93 million miles before it gets to the sun's till it gets to the Earth's surface, right? That's constantly being beamed here, right? It's constantly being projected here to cause growth here, to send messages here, right? To regulate the time of those messages that get to you, to regulate growth here. That was all a system that was set up. A lot of our people call that Mother Nature. There's no such thing as Mother Nature. There's no such thing as an independent force called nature. That was a system that was set up by people, right? In time, in a time zone, in a time frame, right? They set the system up in order to give natural evolution to these things. They couldn't throw everything into a picture. Everything had to grow. Right? Everything was meant to grow in a time frame. Right? Nothing was meant to be just thrown together. They had to lay things out in time zones, in time frames, and dimensions. Right? From the time, there's still a time. That's why the scientists always talking about where they're going to go back and they're going to try to resurrect dinosaurs and things like that, because they know there's a time on this planet locked in those dimensions where the dinosaurs are still moving on the earth. Understand? They know that there's a time where dinosaurs are still moving on Earth. There's a time where you got all kinds of strange beings and creatures moving on the Earth, and that are locked in different time zones. Now, what the beast is talking about, he talked about breaking or trying to figure out a way to break those time zones. Now, if you figure out a way to break those time zones, then you're going to have all types of beings or creatures that are locked in certain time frames come into this one, and they'll all start to collide. They set these things, these dimensions, they set these time frames in the planet for a reason. They set them there, and they lock people into time frames like prisons for a reason, these almond beings, right? So that they would not disturb the evolution of the next generation. Can you imagine, why did they not allow people to run around amongst dinosaurs? You had the early people, they tried to, they moved amongst the dinosaurs and whatnot, but they'd kill them. It would disturb the evolution of the people. So they understood that time and evolution was needed to breed and bring in or get the planet or keep the planet on a timely evolution.